Welcome back to Your Productivity Pulse with Michelle Oucharek-Deo. Me, the podcast that is more than just a checklist, a space where we explore time, intention, productivity, and the surprising moments that can shift the way we see our lives. Coffee, tea, maybe a tissue today? I know it took me several goes to record this episode so that you could understand me between my tears. I cannot promise a tear-free recording, but I don't apologize for crying. We never should. On a side note, did you know that the actual human body creates 3 different kinds of tears? There are basal tears that keep your eyes lubricated and protected from everyday stuff that kind of pops in. Reflex tears that help flush out irritants like smoke, dust, or onions. And emotional tears, the tears connected to grief, joy, awe, overwhelm, actually contain a slightly different chemical makeup linked to stress and emotional processing. I've often talked about this in my session work as a counselor and how important it is to be able to support people on letting their tears out. Researchers believe emotional tears may help the body to regulate intense feelings, reminding us that moments of meaning, connection, and even heartbreak can affect us right down to our chemistry. Okay, so today's episode is not about crying, but I just thought it was important to share that little piece with you. Today's episode is about moments of time that pop up in our lives and how they can unlock memories and generate ideas about what is possible for our future. It's about what can happen when we stop overscheduling every moment and leave room for unexpected experiences to find us. I love the tiny surprises that life can offer you, the ones that shift your heart, make you take a deep breath, and make you open your eyes just a little wider. Maybe it's coming home from lunch after a hard morning and discovering that someone has already made the coffee and sealed it in your Kinto, a Japanese coffee tumbler that I love so much, and finding that it is still hot and fresh and waiting for you. Or maybe it's walking down the sidewalk and spotting a single flower blooming through a crack in the concrete that somehow you never noticed the day before. Those tiny moments, those unexpected pauses, if we don't take a moment to appreciate those, we can lose sight that there is still beauty and care and wonder moving quietly through the world around us. Now, if you've listened to the trailer for Your Productivity Pulse, you may remember me talking about gifts of time. Those unexpected moments that appear in our lives, the canceled appointments, the delayed meetings, the extra 20 minutes we suddenly find ourselves holding in our hands. But today, I want to talk about gifts of time from a slightly different perspective. Not just the time we unexpectedly receive, but the gifts that emerge when we intentionally allow ourselves space. Space to wander, not wonder, although I do like to leave some time for that too nowadays, but space to reflect, space to discover, and space to be surprised. Recently, my husband and I took a short holiday to Victoria, British Columbia. Our goal for this trip was simple. We were not going to overschedule ourselves. No complicated itinerary, no racing from one tourist attraction to another, no trying to maximize every minute. The intention was actually the opposite. To slow down, to walk, to notice, and to allow surprising things to happen. Victoria itself is such a remarkable city. It's the capital of British Columbia, and for me, it holds many memories because I went to university there over 35 years ago at the University of Victoria. But when you're young, studying, trying to survive assignments and all the exams, you don't often fully appreciate the places around you. Returning years later with different eyes felt very different. One morning, I woke up and said, I want to go to Beacon Hill Park. Now, Beacon Hill Park is beautiful on its own, but what struck me even more deeply this time was the history beneath my feet. Beacon Hill Park is located on the traditional territory of the Songhees Nation and the Esquimalt Nation. These lands have been cared for and stewarded for thousands of years by these nations. And as we walked through the park, I found myself thinking about how many layers of history can exist in one place: nature, history, memory, loss, hope, dedication. One of the things I remembered from visiting Beacon Hill Park as a 12-year-old on a school trip was the peacocks wandering around the pathways. But this time, I noticed so much more. The gardens, the ocean air, the incredible great blue herons soaring overhead. And then there was one small detail on the map that changed the entire direction of my day. Mile Zero. I remember saying to Brian, "What is Mile Zero? Let's go there." And as I started reading more, I realized this was connected to Terry Fox and the Marathon of Hope. It was supposed to be the end marker of his journey. Now, for those listening outside of Canada, Terry Fox is one of the most extraordinary human beings in Canadian history. Terry was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and raised in Port Coquitlam, British Columbia, which is actually my hometown as well. At just 18 years old, he was diagnosed with osteogenic sarcoma, a form of bone cancer, and had his right leg amputated above the knee. But what amazes me every single time I think about this story is that he chose not to let the diagnosis define the rest of his life. Instead, he decided to dedicate his time, energy, pain, determination, and hope towards something bigger than himself. On April the 12th, 1980, Terry dipped his artificial leg into the Atlantic Ocean in St. John's, Newfoundland, beginning what he called the Marathon of Hope. His dream was to run across Canada, from the Atlantic coast all the way to the Pacific Ocean, while raising money and awareness for cancer research. And think about that for a moment. A young man with a prosthetic leg deciding he was going to run across one of the largest countries in the world. Not for fame, not for recognition, but to help other people. His goal was to raise $1 for every Canadian living in the country at the time, roughly $24 million. Day after day, Terry ran the equivalent of a full marathon, approximately 42 kilometers or 26 miles every single day. Through wind, rain, hills, exhaustion, and incredible physical pain, he just kept moving. Over 143 days, Terry traveled approximately 5,373 kilometers, or 3,339 miles, across 6 provinces. But on September the 1st, 1980, near Thunder Bay, Ontario, Terry was forced to stop when the cancer had returned and spread to his lungs. He was only 22 years old when he stopped the run, and 23 when he passed away several months later. And yet, even though he could not physically complete the journey himself, the Marathon of Hope never truly ended. By February of 1981, Canadians had donated over $24 million, fulfilling Terry's original dream of raising $1 for every Canadian. And what's even more astonishing is how that dream has continued to grow decade after decade. As of 2026, the Terry Fox Foundation has raised more than $1 billion worldwide for cancer research. Yeah, you heard me say it, $1 billion. Think about that for a moment. One young man, one idea, one deeply intentional use of time. And millions upon millions of people continuing the ripple effect decades later. And standing there near Mile Zero, looking at his memorial statue, it honestly took my breath away. Not in a casual way, in a deep, emotional, heart-stopping kind of way. I stood there imagining the sheer amount of dedication this young man gave to his dream, the sacrifices his family made, the emotional weight carried by the people supporting him, the time, the commitment, the grit. Sometimes we talk about productivity as though it only exists in planners and calendars and efficiency systems. But productivity can also be devotion. It can be purpose. It can be choosing to dedicate your time to something meaningful even when it is difficult. And maybe that's one of the things this walk reminded me of most. When we create intentional, unscheduled time, we allow space for experiences that can completely reawaken something inside of us. I did not wake up that morning expecting to be emotionally overwhelmed by Terry Fox's story all over again. I did not expect to find myself standing in silence, staring at a statue, thinking about courage, legacy, volunteerism, dedication, cancer research, Indigenous history, and the ripple effect of human kindness, all at the same time. But that's exactly what happened. And maybe that's part of the lesson here today. Sometimes the most meaningful moments happen when we stop trying to control every minute, when we leave room for wonder, when we follow curiosity. when we intentionally allow life to surprise us. So today, I want to leave you with a small challenge. Create a little intentional, unscheduled time in your life this week. Go for a walk. Visit a place you haven't been in years. Leave your schedule a little lighter for an afternoon. Allow yourself space to notice something meaningful, because you never know what story might find you. And before I go, today's episode also sparked something else for me. Standing there reflecting on Terry Fox and the countless people who continue his mission made me think deeply about the dedication of volunteers and people who quietly give their time to causes larger than themselves. So, in an upcoming episode, we're going to explore the idea of volunteerism, intentional service, and what happens when people dedicate their time to helping others. I'm really looking forward to that conversation. Wishing you a thoughtful and intentional and perhaps a surprisingly remarkable day. Thank you for listening to this episode of Your Productivity Pulse. You're not alone in this. We're all learning how to navigate our time in a way that actually supports our lives. If you want a simple place to start, grab the free Time Disruptor checklist in the show notes and join the community. Let's start noticing what's getting in the way so we can begin to make the shift. Remember, intention plus accountability equals productivity. Until next time, keep listening to your pulse.